I know we were, kind of giving OSU and Ohio State and Utah a hard time about the defense not showing up. You want to see a really terrible game? Watch when the offense don't show up. It was like a 14-7 absolute nightmare of 3 and outs that would not end. I think the punter must have had a heat stroke from having to punt the ball so much. That's one of the worst games I've ever seen. Yeah.
And to be fair to the Ohio State and Utah defenses, they were bad today, but there was elite, especially on the Ohio State side. Of course, there was elite, top of the country type quarterback and wide receiver play. Like when these cornerbacks are getting torched and Stroud's throwing a laser from one hash of the field all the way across the field, and you're just talking about perfect quarterback play and great wide receiver play. That's understandable. Some of the other games where we say, oh, where was the defense? These defenses are awful. It was 52-50. Well, the defenses were truly awful all the time, and the offenses were just quarterbacks throwing wide open passes to guys just running down the field that catch them in their belly. And, they're not NFL type throws and catches. So that's the one condition I'll give Utah and Ohio State a bit of a break, especially Utah's defense. They were facing elite quarterback and wide receiver play.
Yeah, but I agree with you. The defenses look like they were 2-3 steps behind the offenses at all time. The one game I do remember where it was just a shootout, and it was at a Rose Bowl. Someone pointed it out, was Oklahoma, Georgia, with Baker Mayfield.
Sure.
That one was a shootout, but the defenses were competitive. It was just that the offenses were spectacular.
All right, man. Anything else?
That's it. Hey, right now I think did they score? Oh no, I thought Ole Miss scored. But hey, thanks for everything, Mark, and I hope Matt Corral isn't hurt too bad. Take care.
Absolutely. Thanks, Emmanuel. Good night. If you would like to sponsor the Voice of College Football, please contact me at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, MarkRogersTV at Gmail, and I will give you a full rundown of how you can benefit by sponsoring us here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate the super chat coming in. We got FDRIS great. FDRIS great. Okay. How long do you think it will take Jim Knowles to get the Ohio State defense back on track? Which defensive coordinator should be gone? Which one should be gone? Well, he's running the show as the defensive coordinator, and I'm trying to think. So they kept Barnes, they kept Combs as it stands right now, right? So I don't really have an answer in terms of the configuration of the coaching staff. But why can't they be back next year? Why can't they have one of the top 3 defenses in the Big Ten? They have more talent than anybody in the Big Ten, even on defense. Even though the defense has taken a backseat in recruiting to the offense at Ohio State, it's still been better than everybody else in the conference. So if you take the best players in the conference, and I know that you take the best talent in the conference, not the best players, the best talent in the conference, and you bring in a guy who fielded a top 5 to 10 defense at Oklahoma State, even though they don't have nearly the talent, they should have a top 3 defense in the Big Ten next year. They should. And I believe aside from the Michigan game, well, who knows? Now that I think about it, what did they really prove once they improved? Once they improved past the Oregon and Tulsa games, yeah, they shut down some really bad teams. They shut down Rutgers and Indiana and Maryland. Okay, Maryland's got a pulse on offense. Indiana was, once Penix got hurt and the team unraveled, was the worst team in the conference, and offensively the worst team in the conference, along with Northwestern. Yeah, Maryland was pretty good on offense, and Ohio State played a good game against them. And shoot, Indiana, who else did I just name? I forget. And they got into the meat of the schedule. The Purdue game's a bit difficult to judge from a defensive standpoint because they gave up a lot of points and yardage to O'Connell, but none of that really mattered. They gave up one touchdown in the first half that mattered. Same thing with Michigan State. So I think that the defense played really well in those two games against, especially the Michigan State game, but even the Purdue game until it did not matter. But I also think that the defense was very much supported by an offense that was just so overwhelming that it took the other team out of the game, Michigan State and Purdue. So the defense made strides, got better, and then against Michigan, that in some ways was a more disappointing, pathetic, and poor performance than what we saw today in Pasadena, because there were two teams that ran the ball down Ohio State's throat. And not coincidentally, there are two losses, Oregon and Michigan. The Oregon game was very much of a schematic mismatch of displacing Ohio State's defenders, of Ohio State's defense not having a good game plan and not adjusting in game to Oregon's sets. And what we saw the entire day was Oregon running backs, Travis Dye, basically running in space, and guys completely out of position. The assignments awful, the scheme awful, out coached, and not able to adjust. You didn't even see players in a position athletically to make the plays. The Michigan game was completely the opposite of that in terms of it was just as effective by the Michigan running game, but Ohio State wasn't out of position that entire game. They were not fooled by what Michigan was doing. You know, there was a play in there down near the goal line in the red zone when they did that kind of jet sweep reverse deal. That fooled the Ohio State defense. Yes, they got outflanked there. They got fooled. But all those Hassan Haskins runs, that was basically Michigan just bullying Ohio State. The linebackers weren't out of position. You didn't see gaping holes. You didn't see guys not in position to make the stops, to make the tackles, and you didn't see where the defensive line wasn't right there. That was just embarrassing. That's an embarrassing performance because that's when you play a sport that is about manhood and you have your manhood tested and you get pushed around all day